My name is Lope Yap Jr., and I will facilitate the discussion. The topic today is when annual audits are required. And today I have Tom Rubin and Anton Jugere. I'm sorry, did I probably mispronounce your last name? I'm sorry. Jugere?
Young, it's like a Y, young hair.
Young hair.
Younghair, young hair.
Okay.
Like my hair is young.
Okay.
Yes, us old guys don't have that advantage,
There we
Anton.
go. All right. Anton, what's what annual audits are required?
There are two annual audits that are required, and this comes directly from the California Constitution. There's a annual audit required for financial purposes, and there's an annual audit required for performance. These audits are required by the amendment of Prop 39 to the California Constitution. These audits are for the fiscal year July 1 to June 30th, and that fiscal year is the same fiscal year as the district. Now, there's some confusion between some CBOCs because there's also an annual audit required of the school district. This is the comprehensive audit of all school district funds. That comprehensive audit also covers Fund 21, which is the bond building fund. So the district's comprehensive audit does cover the bond building fund. So some CBOCs get confused. We've just done a compliance survey of CBOCs in California. And when we asked for the audit report, they gave us the comprehensive audit report. And then we asked them for the records required in the California Constitution, the financial report and the performance report. They said, oh, those are covered in the comprehensive audit. We already gave you that. And then I got another one where they said, well, we didn't spend any money this year on the bond program, so we didn't do an audit. Well, the Constitution says you have to do an annual audit every year. And you have to keep doing that until you spend all the bond money. And once the bond money is spent, then you don't have to do the annual audit. And also then at that point, there's no requirement for a CBOC. Once the money is spent, the CBOC goes away. But absent of that, you spend the money, you end the audit. Now, people also get confused because the bonds are often for 25, 30 years. They're going to be paid off. Well, you don't have required an annual audit for the bond program after the money is spent, even though the money is going to be spent over a number of years. The district's comprehensive audit will, every year, will opine on how much money was spent for principal and interest, how much is left, and so on. That will be covered in the district's audit each year until the bonds are fully paid off, which would be many, many years.
Tom, any additional comments?
Well, the CBOC will need to stay around until the last dollar is spent and the last audit report is rendered and accepted, because the report has to go to the CBOC on the last dollar spent. That's basically it. Now, it's important to understand that there may be more than one set of auditors involved. Generally speaking, for the bond, the Prop 39 financial audit, you want the same auditors as are doing the district's comprehensive audit to do that work. There's a lot of carryover. They aren't identical in all ways, but there's more commonality than there are differences. Now, for each individual bond measure, you need a separate audit. Now, these, again, can be done by the same auditor and probably will be even bound together, but they are different audits because they are different funds. So that's an important distinction. Now, then we get to the into the performance audit. And there are 4 different types of performance audits as defined by the U.S. General Accountability Office, who set government audit standards. 2 of these you should see every school district and every community college district doing every year. One is a compliance audit, and the other is an actual program results audit. Starting with the compliance, this is, did we follow the procedures? Did we spend the money on the right thing? Is everything that money was spent on in the program? Was any money spent for things that are not allowed, such as teacher salaries or the general headquarters administration? So these are annual compliance things at an absolute minimum. Generally, what most school districts want to do, and what most BOCs should insist on, and the CBOC should be involved in setting the scope for these audits, is go in and look at various types of procedures to see if the procedures are working. Change orders is a frequent issue. How do they issue change orders? Are these properly approved? Were they done correctly? Is the procurement for professional services and contractors and such, is that done right? Is it done according to law, and is it done right according to best practices? So these are the types of things, when there is an issue in particular, that should be done on a rotating periodic basis, not everything every year. But what are the things that are of most concern, both coming up and ones that have been a problem in the past? Now we get into program results. This is, are we getting our money's worth? Are things being delivered on time, on budget, and what we are expecting? And that means, is it properly built, and did we get all of the things that we needed to get? So, did somebody design a music room for a fine arts magnet and they forgot to soundproof it? Which, believe me, is not going to work. Did they design an arts facility that didn't have storage space for materials and display space for what the students create? These are the types of things. Are we getting good schools? Are we getting good facilities for our money? Are the taxpayers, and particularly the students, getting their money's worth? And again, these reports, the CBOC should be involved both in setting the scope of these audits. We recommend they be involved in the selection of the auditors, and they be involved in getting the reports back, both on an interim basis to say, okay, thanks for this, but we thought you were going to get into this. We don't see a report on that. Could you follow up and give us more on that? And then the final report. And then after they accept that, or in some cases, not accept it, that goes on to the governing board and to the public. So the CBOC has an important role to play in the audit process. Now, one last word. In some cases, you will be able to find a firm that's able to do all of the auditing of all types for a particular year. And if you can, and if you're confident that one firm can do everything, hey, great. But don't be at all afraid to say, well, this is a little specialized. This is more architectural, engineering, program management than it is finance and compliance. We think we need a specialist here to look at this on the performance audit side. Don't be afraid to say we think we should do that. Perhaps this can be done by subcontractors, but sometimes you'll want to have a different independent agency. And again, everything is site-specific. Final word, if you have any questions, have any concerns, you want some advice, that's what KBOC is for. Give us a call, send us an email, look at our Q&A, and we have a lot of information, including these tapes, shows you how old I am, these recordings available on our website. But get in touch and we'll be happy to help. Thank you.
Anton, Tom's sort of answered the other questions I had. Can you just briefly talk about the purpose of the annual financial audit versus the annual performance audit?
Well, the financial audit is basically the numbers, as Tom said. The performance audit is how effective did we spend the money? And was it spent in accordance with the project list, and did we not spend it for salaries? A common issue is where you have a project manager who is joint funded. So part of his salary comes from bond monies and part of it comes from the general fund. So I've seen districts where they do an arbitrary 50% allocation, and basically he's only working 30% on the bond. So in effect, the bond program is subsidizing the general fund, which is completely illegal, inappropriate. So that's the kind of thing that the performance auditor looked at. Are there timesheets that tells me how many hours does that project manager spend on bond program versus time he spent on general fund monies? Because I don't want the bond fund to be supporting the general fund. And in some districts, that amounts to millions of dollars when you use these kind of arbitrary allocation formulas, which are not based on actual time spent, which should be the basis for allocating a salary. The other thing I think is in terms of best practice, I think, and CBOC recommends that you have an audit subcommittee, because it's not very helpful to be reviewing audit reports and change orders at a CBOC meeting. So if you have an audit subcommittee, you can have to have the staff come to the meeting. You can take more time. You can actually look at invoices. The other thing that we like to see is maybe you pick a couple of invoices randomly and actually review them at a CBOC meeting. Actually look at the invoices. We looked at some legal invoices. We had an attorney coming from LA to Richmond. He was billing us $250 an hour to travel from Los Angeles to Richmond and charging it to the bond program. And also we see legal bills where there's attorney puts a bill together and it's for general fund monies and bond monies, and they gets all charged to the bond program. So these are the things that CBOC should look at. And you can do it very, as Tom said, a big program, you can't look at everything, but you can look at the lawyer's bill. If somebody spent $2,000 going to a conference, how is that related to the bond program? So again, best practice, audit subcommittee. Have questions, give us a call.
Thank you. Tom, any other additional comments?
Government cost accounting is not an exact science. Matter of fact, it's something of an art form and it's something of magic. More complicated than we can get in here, but that is why you need to have auditors, and particularly specialist auditors, looking at your cost allocation program. I'll just end with this. As Anton has indicated, the worst offenders are usually the lawyers, both inside and outside, trying to break those down. And then they will tell you that the billings are confidential. They cannot break down what they did in their bill so you can take a look at it. But these are things you need to know. These are things you need to get into. Again, any questions, give us a call. CBOC is here for you.